Welcome to Wicked Felina. Well, we've got some hypocrisy for you tonight. Oh, this whole Russia collusion. Oh, Trump was such a bad boy for whatever he actually didn't do, which is funny. Did you know in 2016, the Washington Times did an article talking about America and how we used to meddle in elections starting in 1947. They cleverly did not let out the fact that Obama, in fact, since he was a senator, has been meddling in foreign elections using USAID, which is foreign aid from the US taxpayers, our money he used to meddle in foreign elections. And I say the whole country, we should really get together and sue him to get that money back, because it was illegally done. But anyway, this article in the Los Angeles Times very conveniently didn't let that fact out. And I'm going to give you 6 examples when he did it. But they did say that Obama was going to slap Russia with a bunch of sanctions for meddling in the US elections. Apparently, they tried to hack the Republican server. Somebody tried to hack. And in fact, McAfee, he's that really tall, handsome guy that does cybersecurity. Well, anyway, he said that whoever did the hacking certainly wasn't a foreign entity and used some type of device that's 1.5 years old. And the Republicans, they were warned that there may be hacking by the Russians. And so they took precautions to make sure that no hacking was done on their computers. But for some reason, the Democrats just didn't do anything but pick their noses. Podesta puts his password as password, so you gotta really, say that people call the Republicans stupid, and they're always calling. I know Bush. Well, okay. But he actually got higher scores than John Kerry did when he went to Yale. They both went to Yale and belonged to Skull and Bones. He actually got higher grades. We don't know Obama's grades. That's a funny thing about it, and we never will. But anyway, so the Democrats didn't do anything, and it wasn't Russia who hacked them. We knew that for a fact. But let me give you a little rundown on what Obama did. Funny, because Obama slapped sanctions on Russia with absolutely no evidence. And in 1965, the United Nations itself said that it was against the law, against international law, for one country to meddle in the elections of another country. So we could go back and we could sue all the presidents, the ones that are still alive, which were a few, that may have, we know for sure, have meddled in elections. They broke international law. And we know that Obama did it 6 times, starting when he was a senator, before he was president. Kenya, Raila Odinga, who happens to be a relation of Obama, when he was senator, Obama gave him USAID, which is money from us, taken from our taxes, to give to other countries foreign aid. Well, apparently, this man is also Muslim. And what he wanted to do, he was given the money to win the election. And when he won the election, what the backstory of this all is, which is kind of scary, is that he wanted to set up Islamic tribunals. He wanted to change the constitution of Kenya to Islamic. He wanted it to be an Islamic nation. And people would be under Sharia law. You know that lovely law that gives the death penalty to homosexuals, which I don't know why homosexuals vote for Obama. I really don't. In Surah 8 of the Quran, you might want to check it out, it says to kill them by stoning. And that's also the punishment for adultery. And of course, wife beating under Sharia. If you suspect your wife might be independently thinking on her own, you can beat her. And you get your hand cut off if you steal. All sorts of just wonderful things. Mostly ranging on, if you're a woman or a homosexual, unless you're the dominant one. If you are the one who actually does the raping, if you're the guy who does the raping, that's different than if you're the one getting sodomized. Usually the one who's getting sodomized is the one that gets killed. It's an act of domination. It's interesting. That's just a little side note on that one. So he used money, US money, to get his relation elected and to change. So it isn't like he's a casual Muslim. His father was Muslim. His stepfather was Muslim. And he got that, when he went to Saudi Arabia and bowed to the king, which you're not supposed to do. A president is not supposed to do. The king gave him a necklace, this gold necklace, that is only given to you if you are Muslim. And he gave it to Obama. I've got friends that are Muslim and they're absolutely wonderful people. This doesn't look so good to me. I'm saying there's some Muslims that are good and there are some that are not. And if he's a practicing Muslim, well, that whole Sharia thing, it's really kind of tough. Oh, by the way, Odinga named his son after Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, the one who's white, he's Spanish, but there's white Spaniards. In Cuba, they put in jail the black people. There's black Cubans and white Cubans, and the jails are filled with black Cubans. That act alone, he broke federal law. That act alone, giving money to a foreign election as a senator, saying that it was aid to change the constitution of a country and make it Islamic. That broke federal law. That alone, the American people could sue him. We could sue him every time he did this. By the way, he won, and hundreds of millions of dollars flowed to that regime. That's kind of bad, huh? Whatever Russia did, I doubt they did, because Hillary was good friends with him, and so is Obama. And when you you slap $150 million plus another $500,000 down to get uranium so you can build nuclear bombs, I think he'd be more friendly and he would want Hillary to win, not Donald Trump. But anyway, let's go on to Israel. So Obama funneled money from our State Department to the One Voice movement, or the OVM. And the OVM movement was a group that was campaigning against Netanyahu's re-election. And Obama, as we know, didn't like Netanyahu because Netanyahu didn't want to cave to Obama's demands. But the OVM hired campaign officials that worked on the Obama election. And this was a clear violation of U.S. policy, but just like everything else, all the evidence was destroyed, and everybody turned their heads and walked away. So in Macedonia, Obama worked with George Soros's Open Society Foundation and funneled millions of dollars through his ambassador, Jeff Bailey, to Macedonia that would back a socialist Muslim coalition to power. So this is money from the State Department and USAID, and apparently the money is still going there. The money was sent to destroy the conservative center government and to bring on a socialist Muslim government. It's kind of socialist Muslim government. It's interesting how those two things kind of go together. And it's still going on today, apparently, because the hirees of Obama are still in place. Through USAID and the State Department, the Obama administration sent millions of dollars to destabilize a center-right government. You know the riots we had in the streets from Antifa and the Women's March that were sponsored by George Soros? Well, apparently he sponsors the same kind of riots in the streets of Macedonia. There's also 4 other countries, including Greece and the Balkans, and 2 other countries that he's also trying to destroy as well. And this is pretty scary. And whatever George Soros wants, I guess he gets. He's the one who's sending out those boats to pick up the refugees coming from Africa. They're not Syrian refugees. They're African Muslims that are coming into Sicily at a rate of 2,000 to 3,000 a day. And it's George Soros's boats that are going out there and getting them to bring them into Europe. And somehow that's just not going to work with all the marble statues of the prophets and the saints and Jesus and all that stuff, because that's idol worship. All that's going to go bye-bye. So take one look at the Louvre and take one last look at Italy. It's not going to be. And you can't make wine anymore because that's also against Islam. Why George Soros, who worked with the Nazis, he's Jewish and he worked with the Nazis. He helped them out, which is kind of interesting. Why would he? It's like he's anti-Jewish for some reason. Why would he be working with a Muslim socialist group? Anyway, on to the next country. Hope you don't mind. I think I'm going to actually read this because this whole thing is a little complicated. Libya. In 2011, Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton not only interfered politically in Libya, but militarily as well, by orchestrating a series of policies designed to remove Muammar Gaddafi from power. While it would be a stretch to call Gaddafi a U.S. ally, he was cooperating with the USA in fighting Islamic extremists and had turned over all his WMDs to American officials. Western investment was flowing into Libya. The country was becoming more westernized, and most certainly it was no longer a threat to the United States. As in our reports, all that vanished when Hillary Clinton, Samantha Power, and Susan Rice ordered the bombings that turned Libya into a terrorist paradise. One explanation for the abrupt attack on Libya was that Gaddafi was a rival of the Saudis over the leadership of the Islamic faith, and since the Saudis had contributed at least $10 million to the Clinton Foundation, there you go again, bingo, Secretary Clinton had, as usual, a money motive to intervene in Libya. How about that? How about that? The opposition to Gaddafi's regime was led by the Libyan Transnational National Council, whose leaders include many radical Muslims, such as Abdel Hakim Belhaj. Also headed an al-Qaeda affiliate called the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, which was designated a terrorist organization by the State Department. That's funny. We're working with all these terrorist organizations, and then of course there's the Muslim Brotherhood, which Obama gave $6.8 billion to Egypt, and then they chopped the heads off all those Coptic Christians. Kind of get rid of those Coptic Christians. They're kind of messing up that country, aren't they? Nevertheless, Obama spent at least $1 billion to fund a military operation to topple Gaddafi, with American soldiers fighting alongside jihadist-dominated rebel groups. Moreover, the Washington Times reported that the CIA was providing covert assistance to elements of the Transitional National Council, again, a group dominated by radical jihadists. Under Obama, Libya was transformed from a moderate Islamic regime, which posed no threat to the USA, to a violent wasteland dominated by various ISIS and Al-Qaeda linked militias. And they're also auctioning off sub-Saharan African Black Africans on the auction block and in cages. So we essentially switch sides. In Syria as well, we switched sides. We were actually arming the rebels. We were arming ISIS in Syria, and we're arming ISIS in Libya. As you know, Iraq was taken over by ISIS after Obama removed all but, I think, 3,000 troops, basically, and left all the equipment there for ISIS to use. All the equipment, all our SUVs, all the uniforms, bulletproof vests, everything. He left it and took most of them out. So ISIS came right in. It seems like he backs Muslim extremist countries and gets rid of any country that's moderate or conservative or free. And we have Honduras. So Manuel Zelaya wanted to amend the Constitution where his term could be longer than it's supposed to be. So he broke into headquarters and ran off a bunch of blank voting ballots to create an illegal election. The foreign government intervened, and Obama called that a coup d'etat and was completely against that one. Eventually, they had new elections where a new president was elected, but he was backing this guy because in order to please the Venezuelan president, remember Hugo Chavez, the one who, when he was at the UN and after Bush spoke, he walked up to the podium and said that he smelled sulfur, indicating that Bush was Satan. It's funny because after Hugo Chavez died, they found out that he embezzled billions of dollars out of that country. And as we know, that country fell into ruins. First, they ate their pets, and then they ate the zoo animals. And then the people in the hospitals were on the floor, and they weren't cleaning the needles or the instruments, and the babies were on the floor. And they're sitting on natural resources. They could be selling oil to the entire world. It was the most affluent country, in all of South America until it can topple down with socialism and the corruption, the dictators that you get, that you always get when you have a socialist government, which is communist. Russia is the United Soviet Socialist Republic. Socialist. The Nazis were the National Socialist Workers' Party. Socialist. Socialist and communism is the same thing. So wake up, people. So wake up. Egypt. Hosni Mubarak was and here we go. We have another secular leader, just like actually Hussein was also secular, but Gaddafi was secular, and Mubarak was secular. It was becoming increasingly more and more a secular, westernized country and friendly with the United States. But the Obama administration backed the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a radical jihad doing type of Islam. And the Obama administration actually taught the Muslim Brotherhood about politics, which is really kind of strange. I just want to read. See, there's absolutely no mistake that Obama was mistaken about the Muslim Brotherhood, because their mission statement is jihad is our way. There's only one reference to jihad. There's 122 references to jihad in the Quran. Only one of them means internal struggle. You must get over the internal struggle before you can do the external jihad. So jihad is our way. Dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. Here sounds like a group Obama would support. One of the Muslim Brotherhood leaders, Gihad el-Haddad, was actually on the Clinton Foundation payroll. So on the Clinton Foundation payroll was a Muslim or an Islamic jihadist whose motto is jihad is our way, dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. And we know how that worked out. Oh, so apparently it looked like a rigged election. The Muslim Brotherhood rigged that election, and Obama poured $1.5 billion into that election in foreign aid using our money to elect a group that ended up slicing the heads off of Coptic Christian fishermen. Coptic means Egyptian. And the Coptic language, so how important the Coptic language was, to translate the Rosetta Stone that was written in hieroglyphic, Greek, and Demotic Egyptian, which is a written form, rather than hieroglyphic is more pictorial. The Coptic language was the closest, and it was because the Christians kept the language of Egypt is how we know, how we are able to read and understand what we do, because that was kept. You see, when Islam comes into a country, everyone has to read the Quran in Arabic, because that's the language of God, which Hebrew I thought was the language of God, and Greek, and so on and so forth. But apparently, so Christianity doesn't demand that you master another language so you can understand this new religion that's forced on you through it's at the point of a sword. This religion was forced onto Egyptians. But that isn't the way Christianity is. You translate it into the language that you can understand, so you can understand your religion 100%. You don't have to master another language. Good for the Egyptian people. They were so upset over Obama's intervention. You know, the military got involved and ousted Morsi from office, especially, you know, when they saw, we're talking the people of Egypt who are more secular and are not into all this jihad. See, there are Muslims that are like that, and there are Muslims that want jihad. Don't put them all in the same boat. Becoming more and more westernized, and apparently Obama has a problem with this. So I think we really need to think about this, because it's actually kind of scary that not only was he a hypocrite regarding the elections and tried to make it look like, and we're spending, it's going to be billions before Mueller's investigation is over. And it takes effort and time, and it must be exhausting for President Trump to be embroiled in such, because of a lie, because this woman lost the race. They couldn't believe, they thought they fixed it, that they didn't fix it enough, that he could be donating 100% of his time to this country and fixing it up after the 8 years that it was being torn down. The American people really should sue to get that money back, because it was taken under false pretenses, and it was taken to do something totally illegal according to the United Nations. So there's debunking Democrat lies. What number is this one? It's going to be 3, maybe. This will be 3. So we definitely debunked the lie about the whole Russian meddling, because the meddling that Obama did by using US taxpayer dollars to fund Islamic radical groups known for beheadings, destroying nations. I personally think that the crimes are so hefty and so big. And of course, the media keeps turning their head to what Obama has done, because everybody's so afraid to be called a racist. But you know, there's some black people that do good things and some black people that do bad things. There's some white people that do bad things and some white people that do good things. Everybody's got their thing. And it's not racist to call something for what it is. See, the crimes are so bad, they have to destroy Trump before it's outed and admitted what they did. Anyway, one little kiss from Felina. Goodbye.